The big trade, Seth Jones goes to Florida. The Hawks in return get a first-round draft pick and Spencer Knight.
Seth Jones was traded. See you later. Pack your stuff.
We've got another high-profile trade to talk about because the Florida Panthers are adding to their blue line by trading for former All-Star defenseman Seth Jones. Jones is a former top 5 pick, and when he was still with the Blue Jackets, he was looked at as a legitimate top-pairing defenseman. He played in 4 All-Star games, was top 20 in Norris voting 4 years in a row, including finishing 4th in 2018, and logged over 25 minutes of ice time per game in his final 3 years in Columbus. But when his contract expired, Jones wanted to be paid like one of the best defensemen in the league. The Blue Jackets disagreed and sent him off to Chicago, who gave him an 8-year, $76 million contract. He became one of the highest paid defensemen in the NHL, having the same cap hit as guys like Adam Fox and Charlie McAvoy. But going from Columbus to Chicago, Jones encountered a new struggle, and that was that he was now a part of one of the worst teams in the league, and his reputation took a massive hit because of it. The Blackhawks have given up the 3rd most goals in the league since Jones arrived in Chicago, and being a big minute-eating defenseman, he was on the ice for a lot of them, and has accumulated a plus-minus rating of minus 108 in 259 games with the Blackhawks. But now being traded to Florida will likely only lead to good things for Jones. He won't be their clear number 1 as the Panthers already have Aaron Ekblad and Gustav Forsling, and speaking of Aaron Ekblad, the acquisition of Jones could play a huge role in his future in Florida. Ekblad is on an expiring contract, and before Jones got there, he was the Panthers' clear number 1 right shot defenseman, and if they wanted to re-sign him, Ekblad could ask for just about whatever he wanted. But now after acquiring Jones, the Panthers have a ton of leverage in negotiations, because if Ekblad threatens to leave, it doesn't mean much to them anymore, with Jones being right there to replace him and being signed all the way through 2030. Adding Jones makes a lot of sense for the Panthers. A strong part of their cup-winning team last year was their 1-2 punch of Ekblad and Brandon Montour on the right side, but since Montour left in free agency, they have been missing that, and adding Jones will hopefully bring that back, as he will likely turn his game around in Florida and prove to be a great add for them. But what about what the Blackhawks got? Because they are at the bottom of the league standings and just gave up their best defenseman. They have one of the worst rosters in the league and are going through a rebuild, but with this trade, they may have just solved a huge issue. Throughout this rebuild, the Blackhawks have identified their franchise forward in Connor Bedard and multiple pillars to their defensive core in Artem Levchinov, Alex Vlasic, and Kevin Korchinski, but their goalie situation has been more of a struggle. Drew Commesso was a 2nd-round pick in 2020, but he's currently sporting a sub-900 save percentage in the AHL, while Arvid Soderblom has been good at the NHL level and quite frankly underrated, but none of those guys have the pedigree of someone like Spencer Knight, who was the biggest piece that Chicago got in this deal. When the Panthers drafted Knight 13th overall in the 2019 draft, he became the highest drafted goalie in nearly a decade and has proven why. He was a finalist for the Mike Richter Award in each of his 2 seasons at BC, has played well and put up good numbers in both the AHL and NHL, and last year became a Stanley Cup champion. But playing behind Sergei Bobrovsky in Florida, the most games Knight played in a single season was just 32, but now in Chicago, he will get the opportunity to be the full-time starter, and he is already taking it and running with it, as he stopped 41 of 42 shots against the Kings in his first start as a member of the Blackhawks, completely stealing that game for them. Chicago also acquired a first-round pick in this trade that will be in either 2026 or 2027, and the general consensus seems to be that they won this trade, and while they do greatly benefit from it, the Panthers do as well. They get a bona fide top 4 defenseman who will only help them in their pursuit of back-to-back cups, and in a few years we could look back on this trade as one where both teams got what they wanted out of it.